Hey everyone, welcome to Touchdown BC. My name is Ryan Sullivan. What a show we have for you today. The province is the new proud and righteous owner of a 2014 collegiate win. The border battle turned out to be an absolute bloodbath. The BCFC heads into its final week, and the Irish headed to the island in our high school football game of the week. Now, without any further ado, let's get you out to Point Grey, where the UBC Thunderbirds were playing host to the red-hot Alberta Golden Bears.
UBC, Alberta. Pick this one up on a punt return. It's Mount Doug standout recruit Marcus Davis getting under it and getting his butter churning. Davis making a few guys miss, a few good times down the sideline. He is gone. He goes 98 yards all the way down to the Alberta 1. It took the punter to take him down. This drive would result in a 3-ball. It's then Alex Morrison taking this dump pass from Carson Williams, and he is gonzo. Morrison turns on the Jets. He goes 48 yards back to the house. UBC with a 13-6 lead at the half. Alberta would capitalize to start the second half, though. It's Levon Haralak with a 4-yard scamper right up the can. UBC answers back quick, though. Ryan Cooper pulls down this 20-yard toss. This one makes it 27-13 for the hometown T-Birds. A little salt to the wound after that, and we've been saying it all week. You gotta use Marcus. That's exactly what they do. He pulls in this 43-yard toss, and he does the rest. This made it 35-13. UBC goes on to win with ease, 49-13 your final. So the T-Birds improved to 1-3 on the year. Nice to see the offense starting to click for Sean Olsen. They posted just under 400 yards in the second half alone. This win couldn't come at a better time because next up the Birds head to Saskatchewan, followed by their bye right after that. All right, let's take a look at your Canada West standings. Calgary had to forfeit their win over Alberta at the start of the year due to an ineligible player. So after the Dinos and Huskies, the standings look like this. Manitoba, Alberta, followed by Regina and UBC tied for last.
All right, UBC with their first win of the year, and we're waiting for our UBC insider Andrew Wadden to get here. You must have just dipped down to a skateboard bowl somewhere.
I'm right here. You didn't.
Hey,
how's it going?
I didn't recognize you.
You know, I'm like, just kind of slide my way in there.
Yeah, you're not wearing your traditional garb, unfortunately.
I dressed up today for you, buddy.
I like it.
Just for you. I mean, look at this jacket. I mean,
well,
Are you waitering after the show? Or?
I am actually. I'm parking cars after the show.
Well, that's a step up for you.
Yeah, your Pinto's just down the block. I'll get it for you later.
Damn right you are. Washing it too.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Let's start things out with the game here. Let's start things out with the good. And for once, there's a lot of good out of this game.
Yeah, there's some good in this game. I mean, hey, they got the win, right? Yeah. So that's big for the Thunderbirds this year. They got to the running game. This is what we've been talking about. Get to the running game. Get the Davis brothers out there. Get Brandon Deschamps out there. Deschamps didn't have a huge game, and but it opened things up. Right? Carson Williams was a little slow to get going at the start, but once they got things rolling, then it opened things up. They were able to get Deschamps about 40 yards of rushing on the day. Terrell Davis had his best game of the year so far, and Marcus Davis was phenomenal on the day. So they got things going, and they were able to get the W, which is huge because, I mean, look what's going on in the Canada West right now with Calgary having to forfeit a win. That puts the G-Bears up to 2 wins now in the season. UBC needed this game, so that's the good. They got it, and they're moving forward now.
As always, let's move things over to the bad.
Well, I mean, this is just a small gripe as well, all right? I mean, they didn't get going quick enough in the game, all right? And when the games they have coming up, they've got to play Calgary on the road, they've got to play Saskatchewan on the road, and then they've got a game at home against Saskatchewan and a game at home against Regina. Now, those are all the good opponents, okay? I mean, Regina may be one of those games where they can, measure themselves up against them, but against Saskatchewan, Calgary, you can't get going late in the game because they're going to bury you early. So that's the bad that I saw through that game of the weekend.
Okay, now let's touch on the ugly, and I'm not talking about your sweater from last week.
No, thank you for that, because
You're welcome.
I thought we were going to leave that alone. You told me that already.
I was thinking about it. I'm going to use that as cover over some of this, actually.
Can't trust this guy. The ugly is the fact that it might only take 3 wins to make it into the playoffs this year in the Canada West, and yeah, that's kind of ugly. You're 3-5 and you're going into the playoffs. But hey, the UBC Thunderbirds will take it. Like I said, you're going to have to beat Regina. That is just a game that the Thunderbirds are going to have to must win. You've got to beat the Rams. But then you got to take 1 of 2 against Saskatchewan. That's going to be tough. And let's face it, Calgary's in the upper echelon right now. They're way above UBC. So to see them winning in Calgary, that's going to be tough. But like I said, you got to get one of those 2 wins against Saskatchewan. It's going to be tough in their next game because they got to go on the road. They got to go to Griffiths, which is a very tough place to play. And it's blackout night. And if you've ever seen blackout night in Saskatchewan, things go wild that night, and the team steps it up usually.
All right, now as always, we have Andrew's top picks. Who do we have this week?
I got both the Davis brothers this week. Marcus Davis got honored by the Canada West as the top player of the week, so he had a fantastic game. 253 all-purpose yards, even cracked off a 98-yard punt return. He didn't take it to the house, got himself a 43-yard touchdown reception. His brother Terrell, 85 yards, even tossed, or 85 yards on the ground, that is, but even tossed a touchdown pass himself. So props to the Davis brothers. And I also got another kid named Diego Pineda. He's out of CW Graham, and he's committed to Guelph. He's a defensive lineman, 6'4", about 245 pounds. So big kid, and he's going to an incredible program in Ontario in Guelph. I mean, Stu Lang, who runs the Guelph Griffins, is one of the best people in all the CIS to play for. And in looking at their roster, they've got 11 defensive linemen right now on the roster for this season. 7 of them are seniors or juniors. I think it's 4 juniors and 3 seniors. So looking at that, I mean, Diego's going to find himself into the roster probably within the first couple of seasons. So massive props to CW Graham and to Diego Pineda for being the first from that program to commit to a CIS program.
Now, Diego, no relation to Michael Pineda. I know you're a Mariners fan, so I want to throw it out there.
Yeah, well, put it this way. Yeah. The Pineda in Seattle, he weighs about as much as the kid, but I mean, he's a baseball player and not a defensive lineman, so.
Fair enough. He's our UBC insider. His name's Andrew Wadden, and he's progressed from Value Village to Craigslist Clothes. The first annual border battle hit the ground in beautiful, scenic, and stunning Bothell, Washington this past weekend. How do I know that name, Bothell? Where's that come from? Well, they're famous for their ads all over downtown Vancouver, 2 days in Bothell. However, if you're a Simon Fraser supporter, 2 minutes in Bothell was probably long enough this past weekend. Let's unfortunately get to those highlights.
The border battle in Bothell, SFU, Central Washington. Pick things up after a 3-and-out from the Clan Wildcats. QB Jake Nelson finds Greg Logan. This is a 56-yard gain. Then on 3rd and goal, the pair hook up again to put Central up 7-0 early. Following another 3-and-out, Nikolai Karpoon would have his punt blocked by Cedric Cheney, leading to a touchdown. Oh, this is a bad start to the game for SFU. This is not deja vu. The Clan's very next possession, Karpoon's punt again blocked. This time, Cheney recovering it for the score again. 21-0. They lead in the first quarter. SFU would get on the board late in the first as Ryan Stanford finds Bobby Pospichil, who finds painted dirt. 21-7 to score. Now down 28-7. The Clan would reach the Wildcats' 5-yard line, but Stanford's pass would be picked off by Isaiah Davis in the end zone, ending that drive. But just as Central took it, they gave it right back. As Nelson turns the ball over deep in his own zone, middle linebacker Jordan Herdman punches the ball loose with defensive tackle Quinn Horton following on it for SFU. But again, at the Wildcats 5, the Clan could not convert on 4th as Steven Spagnuolo is stuffed at the line of scrimmage in the second Q. Now 56-7 in the 4th, and Tyler Nickel in for Stanford. He would have his pass deflected up in the air and into the hands of Dion Stell for the second interception of the game, this time returning it all the way back for a major. The Clan fall in the border battle to Central Washington 63-7. Do we have to look at the numbers? Oh, we do? Well, that's unfortunate for the viewer. There they are, SFU not looking so hot. Might as well keep that not looking so hot trend going. Let's take a look at your GNAC standings.
Wow, that just happened. 63-7. Our SFU insider, he probably wishes he was an outsider. Mac Douglas joins us. Mac, wow, just thoughts on the game.
They billed it as a rivalry, but it was anything but a rivalry. 63-7 offense, 3-and-out on the first drive, give it over to Central Washington. Their first play, 56-yard pass down to the 3-yard line. A few plays later, touchdown, 7-0, just like that. SFU gets the ball back on offense, 3-and-out again, blocked punt for a touchdown. Deja vu, repeat that on the next play. It took SFU 14 offensive drives before they first recorded their first down. And it was sad. The special teams had been pretty consistent all season long for the first 3 weeks. They allowed 2 touchdowns against. Offense, 229 total yards. Defense, 63 points against. It was, they say it was a rivalry, but it was anything but a rivalry.
Yeah, the only perk for supporters in this game heading down was that the Peace Arch wait was under 10 minutes, I heard. So that's not too bad. Jock Chapdelaine, he's got a few games under his belt now. How is his offense coming along?
Well, this guy has 3 Grey Cup rings. To his credit, he's got a Vanier Cup. I don't think he just didn't know forgot how to coach. You see it in fall camp, things were working. You see it at times in the season, things work, and I don't think it's scheme related. It's going to take a while with players. He's going to have to get in. He's going to have to rebuild that offense with talent and numbers. He came into the program pretty late in the process, so it's going to take a couple years to get his players in. It's shown that it can work. I think it can work. The players, when you speak with them, think it can work. So it's just more of an execution type thing. I don't think it's schematically, and his CFL style thing can work in the GNAC, and it's going to take time.
SFU, as you know, off to an abysmal start. We got Dixie State up next. What are we thinking?
Well, it's the Toilet Bowl. You called this one the border battle. This is the Toilet Bowl. Both winless teams. Both will be 0-4 heading into the game. This is the two worst offensive teams in the conference. 2 of the 3 worst defensive teams in the conference. So someone's going to have to come out and win on this game because they've both been pretty putrid. It's in St. George, Utah. So SFU's got to go back on the road. It could be anyone's game here. It could be SFU's best shot at getting a win. And right now, this is kind of the make or break. 2 winless teams. Someone's got to try and turn their season around, and this will be the game.
I'm pretty sure our number of viewers just jumped for next week with that preview right there. Mac Dalglish, he's our SFU insider, and he joins us every week. Junior football time. The Valley Huskers are without a win and in need of a good hard slap in the face. They clearly tuned into Touchdown BC last week to see my insider Alex Kerrigan and I touch on their troubles briefly at the end of a lengthy league conversation. Similar to Matt Damon on Jimmy Kimmel, we just simply ran out of time. That was when they weren't churning out headlines, though. Let's head out to Chilliwack for the West Shore Rebels and Valley Huskers. And don't get too close to your television because history is about to be written.
Valley Huskers, West Shore Rebels. West Shore's first play, Johnny Kwan gives up the pigskin. It leads to the game's first major. Dylan LaPrairie to Tyron Lettingham. Huskers up early, 7-zap. Next Husker possession, LaPrairie finds Keenan Godden. 50 yards later, he is in the painted dirt. Oh my gosh, the Huskers have a lead. It's 14-zip Valley. Pick it up at 24-0 for Valley. West Shore decides to start playing. Hunter Lake finds his receiver. Jordan Radinsky skis past a defender, no problem there. Lake calls the quarterback sneak to score for the Rebels. 24-7 for Valley. They would cruise their first win all year, beating West Shore 39-28. West Shore officially eliminated from the postseason. Okanagan Sun, Langley Rams. It's a rubber match. The winner locks up first place in the BCFC after a Rams field goal. Next possession ends in a Malcolm Williams touchdown. He's too fast for the cameraman, even 10-0 for the Rams. 2 plays later, Okanagan returning the kick, and they take it all the way back. Robbie Yochum, a 105-yard kick return touchdown. You know it, 10-7 for the Rams. Next Okanagan possession, the Sun were all about the long scores on this day. Alex Bradley rumbles this one out from 50 yards out. Okanagan gets the lead, 14-10 for the Sun. Sun add a field goal before the Rams fight back. Jordan McCarty heaves the deep ball, and Daniel English is able to snag it. Rams fighting back. Sun get the ball to start the second half. They didn't need it for long, though. Robbie Yochum, again, a 95-yard kick return for a touchdown. This is his second of the day. Yochum, you're killing. Unbelievable day for him. Sun would cruise from there. They take the game 37-20, and they also take first place in the BCFC with only 1 week remaining. Once again, here's a look at your BCFC scoreboard. And now here's a look at your BCFC standings heading into the final week of the regular season.
All right, we welcome in our BCFC insider, as always, Alex Kerrigan. They've done it. They've finally done it. Let's hear your thoughts on the week that was.
Congratulations to the Valley Huskers. It's clear that they watched Touchdown BC. We've been ripping into them, calling them the disappointment the last 2 weeks, and they finally beat the West Shore Rebels. Final score there was 39-28, and you know something? They looked good doing it. There were 2 long bombs from Dylan the Prairie, 50-plus yards to Keenan Godden. One was a 58, one was a 61-yarder. They had a blocked punt for a touchdown, and sans a couple of breakdowns in the fourth quarter, their defense looked really good. They had a couple of picks. Sorry to the Huskers. Congratulations on your first win. Next up, it was Kamloops Broncos playing the VI Raiders. This was big for Kamloops to win. They really wanted to hang on to second place, and VI came out with the win. It was 44-15. VI just absolutely handled them. And, you know, this was actually a pretty rough game. There was a lot of penalties. Both of Kamloops' kickers got injured. Both the kicker and the punter got hurt on consecutive plays. The referees decided that they had seen enough. With about 2:46 to go in the fourth quarter, they just called the whole game. So with those wins, Kamloops still needs a win, but VI is locked up fourth place. They've eliminated West Shore, and Okanagan has secured first place with their win over the Langley Rams. That was an emotional game. It was a very hard-fought, physical game, and like we said last week, that was the 2 teams most affected by JT Fernandez's passing. After the game, there was a really nice moment between both teams. They gathered on the 32-yard line. They had a group prayer commemoration for JT, and it just goes to show that it's more than about football. You know, this great big family of ours was really affected with JT's passing, and it was a really cool moment for both teams.
All right, well, we're now heading into the final week of BCFC play. Can you kind of give us a look at the standings from the bottom up?
Definitely, yes. Well, with VI winning their game, they have their last game coming up against the Langley Rams. It's a big game for Langley, not so much for VI. There's not much the VI can do to secure their standings. They're going to be in the basement in the league. As we said, 1 and 4 are locked in. Okanagan Sun have locked up first place. The VI Raiders have locked up fourth place. Kamloops Broncos are in action against the Okanagan Sun, and the Valley Huskers, of course, against the Langley Rams. That game is for second place. Whoever can come out of that game with the win will get home field advantage. And Langley needs it. They're really bad on the road. They're 5-0 at home, 1-3 on the road right now. Kamloops looking okay, but they've been pumped by the big competition. So we'll see what happens with their game between the Okanagan Sun and them.
I was going to say, let's take a look at next week. We kind of just jumped into a little bit of a preview there, so we'll just segue it in. Looking ahead to first week of playoff action, what do you foresee as matchups coming up right now?
Well, I'm definitely going to be looking at Langley taking their game against Valley to get second place so they can secure home field advantage. They'll be welcoming Kamloops. Kamloops is a pretty surprising team, but I think Langley comes out of that one with the win. Okanagan would play VI, the 1-4 matchup. Okanagan has just pumped VI in all 3 of the games that they've played this year, so I really don't see VI coming out of that one. I see a fight, but I see Okanagan and Langley in the Cullen Cup final. And I know a lot of my Langley Rams players watch this one, but I think Okanagan is going to have the edge. It'll be a close one, maybe a 34-31. I see Okanagan coming out of the BCFC this year.
All right, there you have it. We're on the home stretch, heading into the final week. His name's Alex Kerrigan. He's our BCFC insider. Well, now that BC High School football is a week deep, we're starting to see some trends. After a few blowouts in week 1, it's becoming more and more obvious who the standouts will be. Now, while the teacher labor dispute may be over, the heavy lifting and manual labor of the Vancouver College Fighting Irish was set to begin while visiting Mount Douglas.
All right, out to the island we go, Irish and Rams. Early in the first queue, and Joe Clark barrels it up the can. That makes it 6 blank Rams. They decide to go for 2. For some reason, Clark then pulls a Jeff Hornacek hideous chest pass. This play is an epic fail. 6 blank is the way it stays. Mount Doug's defense not to be ignored. The ball squirts loose, scooped up by the Rams. They take it back deep into the Irish red zone. Actually, the start of the Irish red zone. 1st and 10 Rams nonetheless. Clark then tosses up a beauty to the corner, put it on the board. Another 6 for Mount Doug. Again, they decide to opt for the 2-pointer, and again, it fails miserably once more. It stays 12-0. VC's turn now. Gio Belfiore hits Richard Jaron and put it on the board. VC then decides, unlike their opponents, they like 3 points. Kieran Mitha splits the pipes. It's 12-7 Dougie. VC keeps the pressure on. Belfiore hits Jaron once again, who shakes a tackle and finds a heck of a lot of real estate. He takes it all the way to the house. VC plays it smart. Easy points once again means they have a 14-12 lead. However, after a 1-yard dash and a few field goals, Mount Doug decides to put the icing on the cake in the fourth. The handoff to Gavin Cobb. Not sure if there's a relation to Randall in Green Bay. He finds open lanes just like the NFLer though. Cobb takes the HOV lane. Touchdown, game, set, and match. Mount Doug wins
36-14. Now let's take a look at the rest of the scores from around BC high school football. And now let's take a look at your BC High School football standings, starting with the Eastern Conference. STM and Terry Fox leading the way at 2-0. Centennial, Mowat, Tweedsmuir, and Rutland still without a win. Meanwhile, over in the Western Conference, South Delta and New Westminster, along with Mount Douglas, leading the way with 4 points each. All right, we welcome in our BC High School football insider, Dino Jeremiah from Football BC. The Irish heading over to the island, their first game of the year. We were wondering, will Mount Doug be as dominant without the likes of Marcus Davis? Zach Wilkinson, your thoughts?
Well, they certainly showed that they are still the top dog. They've got a lot of talent. They're well coached. And I think the biggest thing is they've got a winning tradition now. 3-4 years in the making. Their players have high expectations, and regardless with the Davis brothers not being there, they've left that legacy of winning on Mount Doug, and we saw the results.
And what we've seen so far from this young season is that the teams that we kind of thought will peel away are peeling away. Is it basically just like an elite side and not so much on the other side? Like there's the top four is kind of figured out, but outside of that, what are we looking at?
Like I said last week, Mount Doug, Terry Fox, Vancouver College, and St. Thomas More. I think it's going to be tough to break that top four. I think New West is doing some good things, big win over Notre Dame, but I'm not sure that they have the talent to run with those other teams. And those top four teams, I think they're going to get closer. As the season goes on. The one other school that might be able to break it is Lord Tweedsmuir. They had a late start with the strike action. They actually stopped for a couple of weeks and played Terry Fox. It was a one-sided battle, but I expect Lord Tweedsmuir to improve because of those dynamics early.
Yeah, and they're coming off actually a really solid 2013 as well, Tweedsmuir. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes from there. Some of the schools you mentioned that just don't have as much funding behind the program, perhaps like a Moss Crop, things like that. Do you find that they're going to fall off the map pretty quickly?
No, I think there was a good battle this weekend with Moss Crop playing Eric Hamber. Two great programs that just, they're tier 2 programs that are making that move, but it was a good battle. Both coaches doing a really good job, Bobby Gibson at Eric Hamber and Craig Beeman at Mosscrop, doing some great things. So I think if they continue to do those things in their leadership, we might see them in the future and hear some positive things from them.
All right, as always, we look for our update from Football BC, the happenings in and around. What can you tell us?
The biggest thing we're focused on now is the safe contact. Had a clinic last week in North Van and had the coaches out. And it's all about making the game safe, keeping the game safe, teaching them proper techniques right across the country. So in BC, obviously, we've jumped on it and making it our responsibility to ensure that the players are safe and that they play hard, we keep that contact in, and they play with a lot of confidence when they are making tackles.
His name is Dino Jeremiah. He is our high school football insider. Well, we here at Touchdown BC like to educate you about the scores and the stats. We also like to educate you about the game. So let's get to some Huck and Chuck with Handsworth head coach Jay Prepchuk.
Now joined by Danny Smith from UBC and Jay Prepchuk, from places unknown?
Handsworth Royals right now. There you go, Handsworth Royals.
But you also do a lot of work in terms of your quarterback camps as well. Tell me a bit about that.
Absolutely. We've been doing quarterback camps now for over 20 years, and we start the camps in January and run all the way through till August, and they've been doing very well, and I've been really excited about the enrollment and getting receivers involved as well with G. Roy Simon and Marco Iannuzzi, so it's been a great process for us.
Yeah, line up in a straight line, so face your partner. Now guys, make sure you don't run into that goalpost, okay? Okay, so all we're gonna do here, guys, is we're gonna start our throwing on the run process because we're putting our bootleg pass. So what we're gonna do to start off with, we wanna frame yourself up properly here, okay? And you're just gonna take a nice easy jog towards your partner, and we're gonna focus on our fundamentals of throwing on the run. So we wanna really focus on getting your big chest, having your tray up, big chest, and coming up and throwing from your toes. You guys have heard us talk before about that. You want to get up on your toes as you're throwing on the run. You're making yourself big and throwing nice high.
Okay, Dan, let's talk a bit about this drill. What are we trying to do here in terms of addressing fundamentals of throwing on the run?
Well, fundamentally, what's different here about the normal throwing motion is you actually throw off your wrong foot. So if you're a right-handed quarterback, you're throwing off your right foot, and if you're left-handed, you're throwing off your left. It's kind of counterintuitive. So what this drill does is get the kids to over and over repeat throwing off that wrong foot.
What are you trying to recognize here in terms of technique to correct bad technique?
Well, the biggest thing with kids when they're throwing on the run is they don't get good rotation. They open up their chest when they're running because they're normally running. And what we really try to do is get them to get their shoulders around, to get low and run, and then as they go to throw the ball and make their step, they get nice and tall and release the ball high.
To release the ball high, how important is hip rotation?
Well, hip rotation is important, and as a matter of fact, you bring up a good point, is that we really emphasize getting your hips around, because if you get your hips around, your shoulders will come around. A lot of times, why they don't get around is they do get their shoulders around a little bit, but not their hips, and end up throwing the ball into the ground usually.
If you're structuring practice at a minor level, how important is this to do with your quarterbacks on a regular basis?
I would do it daily. If we have in our offense where we run bootlegs or throwing on the run a lot, and a lot of times you do that with young quarterbacks because it's easier to get them out of the pocket to throw the ball because they're athletic and they don't have a lot of experience in the pocket. So we'll do this a lot. And you know, one of the things that we try to do is, I know it's boring, the kids like to throw the rock down the field, but this is a fundamental that they need to master. So we'll do this daily.
And you'll do it daily, and how long will you do this drill for?
Well, we'll do it until I look down the line and I see that everybody is doing it reasonably well. And I won't stop doing this until they do that.
All right, that does it for us this week. From the Shaw Studios in downtown Vancouver, I'd like to thank the crew, my insiders, and of course you at home on the couch eating your Funyuns. Thank you for joining me. I'm Ryan Sullivan, and I'll see you next week.